There are moments in combat sports when the line between professional competition and personal retribution gets blurred. For Naoya Inoue, that moment came in the lead-up to a bout that was already shaping up to be the most dangerous of his career. It wasn't just a fight anymore. It was a matter of pride, of family, and of respect. And when a man like Inoue fights with something more than a title on the line, the results can be terrifying. Emmanuel Rodriguez was supposed to be a legitimate threat. Undefeated in 19 professional bouts, the Puerto Rican boxer had earned his spot in the semi-finals of the World Boxing Super Series by going through hell in a brutal battle against Jason Maloney. While Inoue had dispatched Juan Carlos Peano in a single round, Rodriguez's road had been a bit more grueling. Nevertheless, he was tough, talented, and well coached. On paper, this was a real test, a showdown between two unbeaten warriors, each carrying a championship belt and a burning desire to prove supremacy. But then, everything changed. What could have been a respectful clash between two elite athletes took a personal turn. During fight week, Rodriguez's trainer, William Cruz, noticed Naoya's father and lifelong trainer, Shingo Inoue, recording training footage on his phone. The confrontation that followed wasn't televised or plastered across social media. It was a quiet altercation, barely making headlines, but it lit a fire in the heart of Naoya Inoue that no one in Rodriguez's camp could have anticipated. They hadn't just crossed a line, they'd made it personal. And when a man like Naoya Inoue feels personally attacked, he doesn't just aim to win. He aims to annihilate. From the moment the bell rang on fight night, there was a different kind of energy pulsing through the air. Inoue stepped into the ring with the same calm demeanor he always had, but behind those cold eyes was something simmering. Rodriguez came forward, aggressive and composed, trying to seize the center of the ring and make his mark early. For the first couple of minutes, he even seemed confident, landing a few clean punches and showing no signs of intimidation. But what Rodriguez didn't understand, what he hadn't yet felt, was the weight of Inoue's power. And it's not the kind of power you recognize on film or in training. It's the kind that makes your legs betray you, the kind that steals your breath and rattles your brain in ways you can't anticipate. Still, Rodriguez was doing well early. His timing was sharp. His confidence was intact. The first round was competitive, perhaps even close enough to score in his favor. Inoue didn't rush anything. He rarely does. Instead, he made his reads, studied the angles, and began planting the seeds for what was coming. His jab found its home early, and he controlled the distance with precision. Rodriguez was game, but Inoue was already crafting the ending. And then came round two. Whatever doubts or restraint Naoya Inoue carried into the opening frame disappeared the moment he got off the stool. His body language shifted. His footwork became more aggressive. The calm before the storm had passed. Now the storm was here. Within seconds, Inoue closed the gap, slipped inside, and launched a left hook that found its mark flush. For the first time in his professional career, Emmanuel Rodriguez hit the canvas. He wasn't hurt just physically. The look in his eyes revealed something deeper: shock, confusion, and the dawning realization that he was in the ring with something entirely different. The referee counted, but Inoue didn't need a break. He stood poised, ready to finish what had been started. Rodriguez got up, but only just. The second knockdown came soon after, this time with even more violence. And somehow, even that wasn't enough. Rodriguez stood again, defiant, bruised, and wobbling. Inoue showed no mercy. A final flurry of blistering shots crumpled the once undefeated champion for good. The referee had seen enough. In less than 5 minutes, Naoya Inoue had destroyed a world champion, exacted his revenge, and defended his father's honor. The bout was over, and the boxing world was stunned. But that wasn't the end of Inoue's World Boxing Super Series journey. The final test would come in the form of a true legend, non-Ito Donaire be why the time fight night arrived for the WBSS final, the boxing community was split. Many believed Inoue's youth and destructive power would be too much for the aging veteran. Others insisted that Donaire's experience, iron chin, and fight IQ would level the playing field. Whatever your stance, the stakes were undeniable. The Muhammad Ali Trophy, the WBA and IBF bantamweight titles, and pound-for-pound legacy were all on the line. When the first bell rang, there was an almost mythical sense of anticipation. This wasn't just a great young champion facing a legend. It was two generations of elite fighters colliding under the brightest of lights. Round 1 began with tactical patience. Inoue tried to establish his jab while Donaire looked to set traps, using feints and smart footwork to control positioning. It was a high-stakes chess match with real consequences for every misstep. But early in the fight, Inoue made a crucial mistake. He stood too tall after throwing a right hand, and Donaire made him pay. A massive counterhook landed flush, and in that moment, Inoue's eye socket was fractured. The pain was immediate, and it would haunt him for the rest of the night. As blood trickled and vision blurred, the fight took on a new dimension. Inoue was now in uncharted waters. He had never been hurt like this. He had never tasted his own blood in the ring, never felt the edge of disaster so closely. But champions aren't made in moments of dominance, they're forged in adversity. And from this point on, Naoya Inoue would be tested like never before. Rounds 2 through 4 belonged largely to Donaire. He landed with more frequency, and his punches had genuine weight behind them. Inoue, now fighting with compromised vision, was less mobile and less aggressive. The old lion smelled opportunity and pressed forward, walking through shots that had crippled lesser men. The tides had shifted. The monster was being hunted. But Inoue, even wounded, remained a threat. He still had the speed. He still had the power. And by round 5, he began to find pockets of success again. The jab returned. The timing improved. A short right hand buzzed Donaire late in the round, signaling a shift. The pendulum was starting to swing back in his favor. By the time round 6 arrived, it was clear that Inoue had weathered the worst. Donaire was still dangerous, but the early momentum had faded. Inoue's footwork tightened, his body shots landed with greater consistency, and he began punishing the veteran in the midsection. Even still, the rounds were close. Donaire's experience allowed him to survive, adapt, and even rally at times. Round 7 was razor-thin. Both men had their moments. But Donaire, remarkably, was the one pressing the action again. He pushed Inoue back, dictated the pace, and seemed unfazed by the Japanese champion's power. The legend was giving the younger fighter a lesson in grit, and perhaps stealing another round in the process. The 8th round continued the theme. Donaire's combinations were slower but smarter. He picked his shots and slipped counters, giving Inoue little room to breathe. Yet Naoya never looked desperate. His poise was constant, even as the round slipped away. Then came round 9, a turning point. Donaire landed a monstrous shot midway through the round, staggering Inoue and nearly changing the entire course of the fight. The Japanese warrior's legs held, but just barely. Had Donaire followed up cleanly, a knockdown would have been well within reach. But experience brings caution, and Donaire chose control over recklessness. Still, the round was his, and perhaps the most dominant of the fight. But as we've seen time and time again, Naoya Inoue is not easily broken. Round 10 was his redemption. He returned to his fundamentals, using angles and movement to limit Donaire's offense. A left hook to the body seemed to sting the veteran, and for the first time since the early rounds, Inoue began walking Donaire down. The tempo changed. The energy in the arena shifted. It wasn't over, not yet.in round 11. Inoue found his greatest moment. A thunderous left hook to the liver sent Naoya to the canvas for the first time in the fight. It was a clean, devastating shot, the kind that ends careers. Naoya clutched his side, clearly in agony, but the warrior inside him refused to stay down. He rose, barely, and finished the round on pure instinct. But the damage was done. That moment, that knockdown, may have secured the fight. Round 12 was pure drama. Two exhausted, battered warriors stood in front of each other with everything on the line. Naoya threw everything he had left, trying to summon one last miracle. Inoue, sensing victory, poured on the pressure. The two exchanged vicious blows in the final seconds, neither man backing down, both swinging until the bell. When it was over, the crowd stood in awe. What they had just witnessed wasn't just a fight, it was a masterpiece. Grit, respect, violence, strategy. It was everything boxing was meant to be. The scorecards came in and confirmed what we already knew. Naoya Inoue had won. He was the World Boxing Super Series champion, the holder of the Muhammad Ali Trophy, and now officially the unified bantamweight king. But more than belts or accolades, it was what he endured that defined the night. The broken eye socket, the near knockout, the storm he had to survive, all of it etched a new layer of legend into Inoue's name. It defended his father's honor against Rodriguez. He had stood toe-to-toe with a legend in Naoya, and he had emerged stronger, wiser, and more complete. Naoya Inoue may be known as the monster, but what makes him terrifying isn't just his power. It's the depth of his resolve, the sharpness of his mind, and the steel in his spirit when things get dark. The novel wasn't just the story of a fighter. It was the story of a man, tested by adversity, and molded into something greater.